Well, hello, everybody. We'll get started. Thank you so much for being here with us for our fall 2022 event. Super thrilled to have you join us. And good evening to those who are on uh, the East Coast or in this time zone. So again, a big thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony. I help advise NYU Law's Venture Fund, which I'll tell you a little bit about. And then not too long from now, we'll kick things off for our event tonight. So a bit about the fund, and actually for current students at the law school, you may have started to see a little bit of this change. We are actually in the midst of a bit of a rebrand, and so we will soon be referred to as the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Program at NYU Law. Yes, that's a mouthful. Or the EVC program at NYU Law. So we're very excited to sort of like rename ourselves, but I wanted to just tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our goal is to build and foster a community of entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors who are within the NYU Law community, both from our alumni as well as current students. And we do that through a number of different ways, including events such as this, and through a variety of programs we offer for students and alumni. A few that I want to highlight. One is our summer internship program that's open to 1Ls who can apply to intern at a startup over the summer. And you'll hear and get to actually meet somebody who went through that a few summers ago in just a few minutes here. The second is our business plan competition that we run once a semester, which is a great opportunity for you to come up with an idea and pitch it to a panel of judges and get some funding. And we also have a fund that we invest in startups at the seed stage as well. So, and a number of other offerings as well. We're really here to support you and to help you in your journey as you explore and want to build, create, and start something. And in that spirit, this event is all about that. It's really about how you can identify a startup idea and take the next steps in that journey. And so super thrilled to have the Amalgama team here who Eli Silverman will introduce, but and I'll ask all of them to come on screen. But just a little bit about Eli. Eli was one of our recipients for the summer internship program now 2 summers ago, and he'll tell you a little bit more about his experience with that. And he will be moderating the discussion with Sophia and Gonzalo today. So with that, Eli, welcome. Sophia, welcome. Gonzalo, welcome. Really thrilled to have you all here, and thank you so much. And Eli, I'll hand this over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anthony. Hi, everyone. As Anthony said, my name is Eli. I'm a 3L here at NYU Law. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody here so much for coming. And thank you to the Venture Fund, while it is still the Venture Fund, and Anthony for helping set this up. I, as Anthony said, got my 1L summer job through the Venture Fund. They do applications that I think open in December for companies that were started by NYU Law alumni. I had the opportunity of working at a startup Tech GC, which was like a really great opportunity to sort of see what it's like to go with an alternative path after law school, and just overall really give me a great introduction and a new different lens into the legal field, and also what it means to sort of work in-house at a startup. So that was really fun. And lastly, a thank you to Amalgama, the speakers, Sophie and Gon, for being here, and those that have helped sort of set this up behind the scenes as well. I think this event is going to be a really great opportunity to have a bit of a different conversation than the typical practice area focused event that we often have here, held by different law firms. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to sort of dive into entrepreneurship, which I know is a pretty big and less often talked about interest across a lot of law students interested in business generally. So I think it's going to be a great conversation. Overall, the panel is going to talk about 4 main topics. So first, just 3 key things that you sort of need when building and envisioning the ideas of a startup. Next, the sort of evolution and stages of startup companies. Third, the beginning of the startup and sort of the customer discovery phase, and we'll talk about what that means. And then lastly, just providing tools for actually getting started in developing and growing that startup. So there's going to be a Q&A at the end. Feel free to write your questions in the chat using the Q&A feature, and the Amalgama team will answer it at the end. And without further ado, so I don't go on too long, I'll hand it over to Sophie and Gon to introduce themselves and kind of get it all started.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today. I'll introduce myself. I'm Sofia. I'm head of product at Amalgama. I've been working in the company for the past 3 years as product owner, and earlier this year, I assumed the responsibility of leading the product team. I'm an industrial engineer. I'm based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. A little bit about my past professional experiences, not related to technology. I worked on the oil and gas industry and the food industry. And 3 years ago, I decided to make a turnaround in my career path and decided to start working in Amalgama.
Well, thank you. I don't want to sound repetitive, but it's an honor to be here talking with you. So thank you very much for having us here. My name is Gonzalo. I'm co-founder of Amalgama. I co-founded Amalgama 10 years ago. As an academic background, I have a business degree and I'm an ontological coach. And in Amalgama, I've been developing different roles. I'm former CEO. I went through sales, but my main expertise is in methodology. I've been head of Agile for a couple of years, and I've been in charge of our transformation towards an Agile organization a couple of years ago. And speaking about Amalgama, we are a digital agency that helps entrepreneurs and companies building digital products from scratch. And the way we do that is we provide a multidisciplinary team with expertise in different fields like product, business, design, user experience, and development to work hand in hand with our clients from conception to launch and growth digital product. The main objective of our talk today is to transmit the spirit of entrepreneurship and how to transform an idea to life, to a real startup. We are not legal experts. I know we are talking here in the law school. We are not legal experts, and we are not here actually to give advice on that field. Of course, we can give suggestions on things that we know, but if we don't know, we will not be able to answer to those questions. So I'm sorry about that. As Eli said, we are going to be talking about 4 topics. The first topic is around the 3 key things that are needed to build a startup, which, the people and the methodology. Regarding the idea, what we think around this is usually we tend to think of a solution. We have a lot of ideas instead of thinking what we want to solve. It's very important when we want to build something to focus on a problem, on a need that users have, instead of thinking, I'm going to build this or that. That said, it's very important that it's related to some purpose you have and something that really motivates you. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to carry on that, because it takes a lot of effort to build something from scratch, and you need to be motivated. Otherwise, it's going to be you're going to be doomed by the beginning. That said, ideas don't come out of the blue. It's very important to be curious, to be inquisitive, to be out there talking to people, being open to different things, communities, instead of waiting for something to come to your mind just like that. That doesn't really happen. And if it does, it's because you're actually open to things. So we encourage you, if you don't have an idea yet, If you didn't find a problem or a need to be solved, go out there. There are tons of things that could be improved in any field, any industry. Of course, try to relate it to something that motivates you. Okay. The second thing that's key to build a startup is the people. No man is an island. You need other folks. You don't have all the skills. We are not superheroes. We need other one's skills. We need other people that help when you're not motivated. It's a long run. So there will be difficult times and you need someone that backs up. Okay, so not only that, but you also need to find mentors, people that you can rely on, people that you can go all the time and ask because you don't have all the answers and you need to go out there to find them. So it's very important to be surrounded by people that know more or other things than you. Also, there are things that you don't like to do, so maybe other ones do. Another thing around people is not everyone you like or you care about might be a good partner. You have to be very cautious on that. Maybe a friend of yours is a very good friend and very committed to certain things, but it will not be a good partner because maybe I don't know. In my personal experience, I have a best friend that I wouldn't partner with him because actually I think we will end up not being friends anymore, and I prefer to keep my friendship there and work with someone else. But well, I think it's very, very important to keep that in mind. Not everyone great on different domains or fit or match. And the third thing that's key is the methodology. It's very common that people tend not to show ideas because they believe the idea is everything. And it's actually, there's a say that the idea is actually 10% of success. I actually believe that it's less than that. If you think of any project, any company, it's actually most of it implementation. The idea, of course, it evolves and it's important, but it's just the beginning. So implementation methodology, the way you implement your idea is actually the most important thing. And my first recommendation around this is to study. There are a lot of things out there you can read. It'll be a shortcut. We weren't born knowing everything, so it's important. That said, what we want to bring here is it's a framework developed by Steve Blank. You can find it in his book, The Startup Owner's Manual, which I believe is a Bible. It has everything there. It's great. And there, Steve Blank represents like the path that a startup goes through, its life cycle. And he represented it in 4 different stages. The first 2 are more research, and the second 2 stages are more execution. In the first stages, you're analyzing, understanding needs, problems, trying to see if you get a reliable value proposition and go test and validate that. In case you fit, there's a fit and you can start monetizing that solution. Then you move towards the third stage where you start professionalizing your company and start executing sales and marketing and become profitable. After that, you can move towards the 4th stage, which will be scaling your company. But we don't want to go in depth there. because we are talking about starting a new venture. So the most important stage is the first one. So it's gonna be a back and forth between the first stage and the second one, many times as needed to validate your business idea. So you have to be resilient, which is key there. So I leave you, Sophie, to explain more about this first
Great.
stage.
Thanks. So as Gonzalo was saying, the first thing you need to focus on is customer discovery. So how are you going to get started with it? Here, I want to introduce a concept of design thinking, that it's a human-centered approach that will help you to solve problems through creativity and also by prioritizing consumers' needs. So this approach will invite you to think that the answers to many of the big questions you might have as entrepreneurs that are wanting to develop an idea or are seeking to an idea to be developed, you should follow an iterative process of diverging and converging. So diverging to create choices, to create opportunities, to seek for information out there, to look at the market, to find any information that might be useful for developing that idea, and being also creative. And then you will need to converge in order to make choices, to define your solution, to validate any hypothesis you might have, and to validate even the solution you're trying to achieve. So as I mentioned, this process is iterative, and you might need a lot of iterations in order to continue modeling and evolving that idea. It sometimes might get a little bit frustrating if you need to iterate a lot, but you need to think that every iteration will drive you closer to what it would be the best first version or the best version for that solution you wanted to achieve to. So related to this, there are 4 things I want to share. We want to share with you on how to get started with this iterative process. So number 1 would be identifying the problem and the opportunity. When we talk about the idea, it is important not to talk about solutions, but to talk about problems or opportunities that are out there. So, and those opportunities or problems you want to leverage or you want to solve. That also, as Gonzalo mentioned before, that motivates you. So here it's an important thing I want to bring into conversation, that is that people do not want to use products or services. They don't want to do it. What they want to do is to accomplish tasks or achieve goals. And this is better explained by the theory of jobs to be done. It's a very interesting case study of Burger King milkshakes. After this talk, we will be sharing a document with a lot of links and information that might be useful for you for later on. But let's think about Uber. Uber users want to move from location A to location B in a fast and safe way. They don't want to order a car. They want to move from location A to location B. So by understanding what our users are trying to achieve, what are those jobs they want to get done, it will be the best way to define and model how our solution will look alike. So by diverging and understanding the jobs to be done, then we will be able to converge and get to the best possible solution. That would be number 1. Number 2, once you have identified your problem or your solution, would be to define your target segment. And here, there are 2 very important things I want you to take from here. First one is, your friends and family are not your target customer. They are not your potential users. So do not ask them to validate any hypothesis or any information from them. Go outside and look for real audiences, look for real users, real potential users that will be potentially consumers of your solution. And the second one is that your product is not for everyone. Like, don't make that mistake of thinking that your solution will be for everyone. Even if we think of Facebook, that it's almost worldwide used, it started in a very particular niche in Harvard University with students. It was a social network meant only for them. And then in their growth phase, they expanded, and now it's used more in a worldwide sense. But it's important that you understand which would be that unique target persona that will match that opportunity or that problem you have identified. And do not skip this step, because it will be one of your most strongest foundations on building or developing this idea and building a startup. And you might need to iterate a little bit between defining your target customer that is related to the problem or the opportunity that you have identified. The third thing will be making sure, like, once you have identified this problem or a solution and define your user persona or your target user, you need to make sure that there's a market for this, because we need people to use our product or consume the solution we are building. So here, again, I invite you to go out there, explore the market, make research on competitors, understand what your direct competitors are offering in the market, what they are not offering, in order to find your own way and identify that differentiation value that you will add in your solution, to not copying solutions that are already out there and being different according to the value, to the opportunity or problem you have identified. So until now, we have been in this diamond, we have been diverging, like seeking for information, creating choices and opportunities. But in order to get to the next step, it's time now to converge.
So as Sophie said, we were gathering information about problems, needs, opportunities. The customer, we're defining it. We're doing research on market. So we got a lot of insights from there. So as she said, we need to move towards the next stage. How? Testing it, getting a minimum viable service or product to test and see if we are validating everything we've gathered so far. What does this mean? We need to narrow our possible solution as much as possible. And why do we have to do so? Because if we can build something small, we can learn fast and avoid spending much money on things that users actually don't want, and actually be closer to what users do want. So we are also having maybe limited time and money. So we encourage people to invest in a wiser way. It is great to dream big. It's not that it's not great. Actually, we have to dream big. We have to have great ideas, but we are a lot of steps behind to what we envision to be in 10 years. So first things first, I want to give you my personal experience in this. We are as a service company. Nowadays, after 10 years of running the company, we are more or less similar to what we envisioned at the beginning. But at first, we were completely different. Of course, we knew that we wanted to go this way, but we had to narrow it down. We had to among all possible customer segments, we have to define one, and we have to understand which was its main pain, need, or opportunity there. So we figured out that marketing digital agencies, customer segment, were struggling with requirements from their clients. Their clients were requiring for certain digital products, and they didn't have the people to build that. They were experts in digital marketing, but they didn't have people to build those things, developers in this case. So we found an opportunity there to fit. So we started providing a service of developers to that specific customer segment. Upon that, we started growing our service and adding more service and improving our service, getting new customer segments. We added people in design, we added people in methodology, in product, in business, in marketing. Those were things that we wanted from the beginning, but it was impossible to do so. So we had to focus on one main opportunity and one main need and problem this specific customer segment had. So it helped us get into the business and start growing from there. There are a lot of different ways to validate and test and build minimum viable products or services. Our experience in service was that in digital, you can get an MVP in paper, pen and paper, and go and test it, then come back, refine it, and get something something better or bigger or more robust. Then you can build landing pages to test to test your value proposition. You can record video footage. You can build design prototypes, interactive design prototypes, and then of course you can go through functional minimum products that, of course, I went through a list from less expensive to most expensive, you know. So you can build as many MVPs as necessary to iterate, as Sophie was saying, in this constant process, back and forth process, that you gather information, you diverge, then you converge and test and come back and do that process again, all over again, till you reach your goal. Yeah, sorry.
So far we've been talking mainly about concepts and frameworks. Like generally speaking, we gave you tips about these 4 things you should be aware of when thinking of transforming your idea into a startup. Recapping, it's not thinking that the idea is the solution. Like first identify that problem or your opportunity you might have, or it might be existing in a market you want to tackle. Identify and define your target persona or your target segment you want to work with. Validate that there's a market for that there's a business opportunity for that. And finally, create, like, think small and create that first MVP, like the minimum viable solution, in order to make less effort and add more value in less time, and also to validate fast. So this is a lot of concepts and theory. Now we want to give you, like, specifically, if you have an idea and you want to get started tomorrow, which are the tools you can get started with? Of course, there are many tools you can get started with. We want to just recommend you 2, because there are 2 tools that we use in Amalgama with our own clients that come here to work with us that already have an idea. We were going to share it in the document I mentioned, so you will have all the information and links, important links there. But the first tool will be a product vision board. This is a tool that was created by Roman Pichler, that is a reference in product. And this tool, it helps you align and, like, translate your product vision or your solution vision into a product strategy, capturing not only the target group or target segment, but also the needs they have or the problems they want to solve. What would be those key features or key services that your solution will entail? And also understanding which will be your business goals. All this thing in a very simple way, it is reflected in this board. And the second tool is a business canvas. Here, there are many options. One of the most popular ones is the business model canvas. But here, understanding that you're entrepreneurs and getting started just from scratch or from one idea you might have, we would recommend you starting with a lean canvas that is very similar to the business model canvas, but it has a more like a problem solution approach. And we think that for these early stages of a startup will be more useful for you to get started with. So these two tools that we are sharing later are two things you can get started tomorrow once you have that idea.
So to sum up, in conclusion, focus on a problem, need, opportunity that motivates you, that's related to a purpose. Get the right team. Be surrounded by people that bring to the table skills that you don't have, that you can be mentored. Analyze the market, define customer segment, analyze their needs, and try to narrow that down as much as possible so you can go and test fast and spend money in a wiser way. And one last thing is that be bold. At some point, you will have to jump and start doing things. Don't put your idea inside a drawer. Go out and test it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of telling people your idea. Don't be afraid of being stole. That doesn't happen. We are 7 billion people in the world. For sure, your idea is in another one's head. So go out there, test it, polish it, and implement it. As we said, implementation is actually one of the most important things. And you don't want to be the ones that say, oh, I had the Instagram idea, they stole it from me. You know, go out there and build it. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. I want to remind anyone who might have a question that they can throw it in the Q&A feature. And while we're waiting for some more to roll in, I do have a few questions that we can turn to. I guess
Sure.
The first of which is a great sort of transition from what you were just talking about, because I noticed that a lot of people often will have an idea and look it up and realize maybe it's already been done before, or ask their friend and hear that it's already been thought of before. Do you think that there is a certain amount of nuance or just creativity that has to come with a business idea, or is it more about sort of the passion behind it, less than kind of how new and creative the idea is?
It is a good question. I believe that first you have to be very interested on the problem you're trying to solve. That's actually, I believe, the key thing there. It doesn't have to be very creative. There are a lot of, as I said before, there are lots of things that can be done in a better way, and people are suffering from a specific things, or they need something. And what you have to be creative is in actually being open to that and related to your purpose, to something that you're motivated. Otherwise, it will be impossible to build something that doesn't motivate you. Well, that's my belief, of course.
I was also wondering if there's any sort of intense screening process when looking at new clients or new ideas that come to Amalgama. How do you decide when there's the right fit? Is it more about an idea that works well with how you kind of start and run businesses, or is it more just finding people that you can work well with?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, well, just how do you decide which clients and which business ideas you decide to work with?
Great. Well, we have different verticals in which we focus on. Of course, we have our own purpose, and we try to be aligned to that, and put our seed in their projects, trying to be aligned. We go through this process of analyzing the business and analyzing the customer they want to tackle, and try, of course, to be aligned to what we believe in our purpose. I'm not sure, Sophie, if you want to add something there.
Yeah, I want to add here that we also seek for working with clients that want to work with us as partners. Like, we truly believe that being partners with our clients is key to the success of their own ideas and projects, and also that want to work the way we work, because we believe that the way we can add more value to our clients is working somehow with this methodology and these ideas we have spoken in this talk, adding value as soon as possible, being close to our users, receiving feedback and refining products in that way. So being more than, we are not just a software company. We truly believe that giving consultancy in different areas for our clients will bring us into creating a successful product and a successful business for them.
Awesome. We got a question about the legal team at Amalgama. I'm not sure to the extent that you're able to answer this or know on your involvement with the legal team, but we got a question of describing what the legal team looks like, and maybe at the early stages what it looked like, and what sort of legal help you received early on.
Great. Of course, nowadays we have a legal team within the company. However, in early stages, I don't think that's really necessary unless you're tackling a very specific, complex business idea. For sure, I'm bringing back Uber case. I'm really not sure about this, but I believe they didn't care much about that at their very early stage. But for sure, at some point when they validated that they were doing product market fit, they needed for sure legal advice on that field. But I would say for many industries, many projects, you can move towards building the business, and so far don't need any or much legal advice. Okay, I'm not sure.
Is there are there any particular places that you know of or that you recommend clients to who are looking for some sort of just outside attorney to do, like day-to-day, whatever, they need contracts or anything like that written up with their employees? Do you normally direct them to attorneys, or is there any way to look for that?
Yeah, we actually have our own attorney, external, actually, a company that works with us. Anytime that any client needs that, any advice on any legal advice, we take them to our attorney, so they can have that legal advice. we are not in that position of us giving that advice.
Yeah. We also got a question more geared towards marketing, asking what the best channels would be. I believe it's about marketing, what the best channels and platforms are today for reaching consumers or clients for these businesses.
If we are talking about consumers of our solution, part of this defining the target customer is understanding where those users are, where are those consumers. If I want to build a solution for professional networking for a particular niche in a particular country, where are they? Like, where can I find them? That is part of the definition of the target customer and defining and identifying any opportunity on the market. So there's not a straight answer just for everyone. It will entirely depend on what is that problem you identify and for whom. And there you will have the answer on where they are and how you can address them, how you can communicate to them.
Yeah, to go further in that question, the marketing strategy will start in the first stage through the second stage, and the implementation will start in the second stage towards the third stage. So we will be strategizing based on what Sophie just said, and at the moment a bit before you need to start getting users, then you will start implementing that strategy.
Great. I think referring to sort of the how bootstrapped a lot of startups start without much funding. We got a question about how to sort of build that minimum viable product in a cost-effective way, sort of minimize the cost of product development, software development, website design, things like that when creating, that minimum viable product to see if the product works.
Yeah, as I shared, like a list of different ways to building MVPs that can start from pen and paper. So I suggest going from very low expensive, inexpensive ways of validating towards more expensive, because you will have a much robust idea of what you're trying to build, of the product you are trying to address. So at the moment that you need to raise money, you will be in a much better position than just trying to raise money from the beginning. That you will be, if you raise money just from the beginning, of course, it's our belief, it's not a recipe written, but if you raise money at a very beginning, probably you will be spending more. You will be spending more, and you will waste actually money. Yeah, and we suggest not doing that.
Yeah, I want to add that if you're going into an MVP that involves technology, also nowadays technology has evolved a lot, and there are many options for creating those MVP, like thinking on creating landing pages where you might not need a developer. It's just designs, and there are websites where you move blocks and your own landing page gets alive, or even low code or no code solutions. Like there are very new ways on creating those digital MVPs. And of course, as Gonzalo mentioned a couple minutes before, also you can think of non-digital solutions or non-digital MVPs. It could be like any physical product that solves that opportunity or that need you have identified in the simplest possible way.
Awesome. Are there any businesses right now that you're working on or that you've worked on in the past that just really excite you?
Yeah, we have. I can recall one that you may know. It is called Mind. It's a mental wellness app that aims to help people to improve the way they live. And it's an app where you can find different experts on different fields, and you can connect to their videos, to on-demand courses, and also interact with other users. Yeah, it's based there in New York. The client is based there in New York, and we are very proud of that.
I did actually read about Mind when I was going through your website. It looked awesome.
Thank you.
Is there any point that you have seen where you would suggest it might be a good idea to sort of put down a business idea where you hit too many roadblocks and maybe it's just not worth kind of pushing forwards?
I can take it.
You can answer.
Yeah.
I would
Well, again, there's no recipe here. Between first stage and second stage, which would be like an iterative process of, hey, I have this, I found this problem, this need. I believe we can solve it this way. We converge, go test it. It didn't work. We need to go back and rebuild things, go and test it. You can be back and forth like several times, and it will depend. It's normal that you iterate till a couple of times till you reach product market fit, but it will depend on how many times you are you're willing to, how much money, time, and motivation you have to iterate. But you will have to iterate. You have to be resilient. It's normal. Most of new ventures fail, so it's normal. And I believe that sometimes we don't pivot enough, and we try to keep on a solution and tie to a solution that needs to be different, and we had to shut it down much earlier. But in reality, you have to iterate a couple of times till you reach product market fit, to be honest. So you have to be resilient and know that that's you have high odds to be there in that position. So it depends. It depends on us, on the people.
Awesome. And I've got one more question for you, and then maybe we'll be able to give back a few minutes to everyone. I know you mentioned what it means to find good team members early on, people that have different sets of skills and things like that. I was curious if you knew any maybe online places to look for people that might want to build a team that are looking for those other team members besides just asking around in the law school for other people to join.
There are a lot of online communities in which you can be part of and seek for that information, for that mentorship, or for that advice that you need from a team in order to evolve your idea. I think that what is important here is that first, like, not just go outside and start talking with people, like first identify what you need from those people you want to meet, like identify which area you are not expert on, and also prioritize, like there might be a lot of things that you wanna know from other people, like prioritize, understand what are the things that you need right now from other people that you cannot give to your own idea. And as I said, there are a lot of communities out there. It's talking with people, a lot of networking, like networking is very, very useful for these instances. And I think that here what is important is invest time in meeting people. Like it is important, as we mentioned before, it is important to build that team, not only thinking of co-founders, but mentorship, pitching your own idea and asking for feedback. That all of that will help you on building a more solid project and foundations.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And thank you both for this whole event. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure that a lot of the people that are watching did too. And we'll be sure to circulate what we mentioned to the people that are here via email, the tools that we talked about towards the end, the product vision board, and I think the business canvas is what they were called. I see that somebody raised their hand. If you have a question, if you could put it in the Q&A before we wrap up, or while I'm wrapping up, that would be great. But if not, if anybody has any questions related to business law and startup law in general, I'm just going to put my email in the chat, because I, during the application process, definitely looked a lot at all the different firms that do sort of the startup work and venture capital work. So feel free to shoot me an email if you ever want to talk about that. Otherwise, thank you everyone for being here. I'll give everyone like 10 seconds that might want to copy and paste my email somewhere. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will give you back 5 more minutes of your Thursday evening. So thank you both. And
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.